Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. And I've been concentrating on Washington wines for the month of August. It is Washington Wine Month, for those of you who care. If you don't care, I hope you've been finding some great wines from this great state, because we do make some great wines. Like I've said many times, I'm a fan of almost any wine anywhere in the world, as long as it's good value and it's worth the money that they're asking for it. That's what it's about. I promised my good friend Yvonne that I would do her wines at the very last day of Washington Wine Month, August 31st. San Juan Vineyards. My buddy's just down the road. I've reviewed their wines many times on this channel, and I just have to say that Yvonne is probably one of the hardest working, tenacious people I've ever met. She's gone through a lot of hardships at the winery. She's pretty much taken what her husband and her husband's friends started and took it under her wing and really developed the winery into what it is today. It's a beautiful piece of property. They have, I think, about 5 to 10, I can't remember how many vineyard acres they have planted. Madeline Angevine and Zigareba, you'd think I'd know that. I think it's 5 of each, something like that. They're just getting ready for harvest. She has a really difficult problem that cropped up recently that she has to deal with, but if I know anybody can do it, Yvonne can. So she's really worked hard at it. They've gotten some nice awards for their wines, and they've really developed it into a legitimate winery in the Puget Sound AVA. And it's up for sale because, you know, Yvonne's, she wants to retire. She wants to go on and enjoy her life without worrying about all the day-to-day activities of the winery. She is not, if she were younger and not this close to retirement, I know she would definitely be vigorously going after the wine world with the winery. She's asking next to nothing for it. If there's anybody out there that's interested in buying a winery, beautiful piece of property. I think they got it so they could subdivide it into 5-acre parcels. And she's really not asking a lot for it because she would like to move on. And if there's anybody out there interested in buying a winery, this is an established winery. It is a tourist destination stop, and they create some really good wines. So, just a little plug for Yvonne there. But I'm going to taste 3 of her reds. This is the San Juan Vineyards Cabernet Franc 2011 Horse Heaven Hills. And this rolls in at $22 for the Cab Franc, excuse me. There's the label. And I've always thought San Juan Vineyards has really done a good job with Cabernet Franc. Very low oak influence. Every vintage I've tasted in the last 6 vintages has been absolutely fantastic. And this one is from the 2011 vintage. Very difficult vintage in Washington State. A lot of the winemakers liked it because it showed a lot more floral characteristics to the wines. Sometimes winemakers can be sort of masochistic. They like difficult things. But they're artists, and so when they get a wine that allows them to express their artistry, they do it, and they like it. Let's see what we get on the nose. Little, interesting, a little bit challenged. I get a little black olive. Very perfumed, like perfumed blackberries. Black olive. A little bit of raspberry coming through. And right on just the tail end, I get a little bit of like a tree branch element that I'm getting on the nose. But it is kind of challenged. It's a challenged nose. It happens. Let's see what we get on the palate. Very sturdy structure on this wine. It does have smooth, it is smooth, it is delicious. It's interesting, Cab Franc can show a lot of green characteristics like blackberry leaves, tomato leaf and all that. This has just a hair of that, but it more leans on the bark side than it does the green side. Good acidity. Get a lot of like red cherries with a little cranberry juice thrown in there. A lot of tobacco. A touch thin on the finish, but Cab Franc isn't known necessarily to be big. This goes into the Loire Valley a little bit without the greenness, which I really appreciate. This has a lot of finesse, good acidity, good structure, good food wine. I mean, I would definitely not just drink this solo. If you pair this up with some chicken tacos or some hamburgers or some pizza, this is a beautiful wine. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it expresses Cab Franc in a very, very elegant way. And you know, you have to be careful. Just because it's not a fruit bomb, it's going to have a lot of fruit, doesn't mean it's a bad wine. And I think that I have to agree with a dude that I really don't enjoy reading, but he wrote a book recently, and he said, you know, in blind judging contests, a lot of times the big fruit bombs will win because they express themselves a lot better. But when you get a Cab Franc like this that has a real delicate nature, good floral component to it, I think that you would be amiss if you didn't realize the value in this wine. I'm going to go B minus on that wine. I like it. It's well made. If you're into Cab Franc, I think that's a good direction for you to go. 22 bucks is not bad. So this is the 2011 San Juan Vineyards Cab-Merlot, Horse Heaven Hills. This is actually 60% Cab Franc, 10% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 30% Merlot. So on the front of the label, they said Cab-Merlot. I guess they got away with it. Cab Franc and Cab. I think that's kind of funny, actually. Do a little rinse. This one they're rolling in at $14 right now. We've just been selling a ton of it at the store at that price. I haven't tried it in a while. When I first tried it, I'd say about 8 months ago. I wasn't like super thrilled with it, but I'm curious to try it now. Let's see what we get on the nose. That one's really challenged. A lot of dusty component going on. Right on the back end, I just get a hair of currants. I get a little bit of leather and tobacco. And some violets. But again, it's challenged on the nose. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is like the Cab Franc, but with a little bit more on the mid palate. I'm getting a little bit more fruit. I get some currants coming through, a little bit of white pepper on the finish. Good acid. A little out of balance with the acid part. I'm getting a little bit of licorice and red flowers, getting little violet notes coming through. I should go cook up a steak right now because I think this needs food. It definitely needs some meat, some stinky cheese. It needs something. A little thin, high in the acid category. I'm going to go C+ on that. Still not excited about the Cab-Merlot. But I think if you have food with it, you need food with that. Let's move on. 2011 Cabernet Sauvignon, Horse Heaven Hills. She's doing a good job with this one right now. She's lowering down the price, I think, to about 14 bucks. Probably trying to move out the 11 vintage. Again, the label. I love the label on this wine. She did a good job with it. Do a little rinse. So because she's, I know the winery, she's been trying to sell it for quite a while actually, for about the last 5 years. And as a result, she hasn't, invested a ton into equipment. So they've been working with a lot of used oak. So these things do not have very much oak on them, oak influence at all. So they're very old world in style. And for those of you that like that style, you might be seeking these out. But let's see what we get on the nose with the Cabernet Sauvignon. A little bit of a stink action going on. I kind of like that. Definitely like worn leather, like an old wallet with a little bit of currant juice splashed on it. I'm getting a lot of tobacco coming through. This is definitely the most expressive nose of the three. I just want a big piece of steak after drinking that Cab-Merlot. These are definitely dry wines, so drying my mouth out big time. Like the Cab a lot, good structure, nice currants, a little bit of splash of cranberry. Extremely, extremely dry. Serious, my mouth is puckering up. I'm going to have to put on some chapstick after drinking this wine. But it has good structure, good acidity, once again. Nice floral component coming through with a little bit of tobacco. It's kind of like violets and rose petals blended with tobacco. The tannins are very smooth. This is actually a baby, and I get a little bit of black pepper right on the end, which I like, which is interesting. They're not using new oak on these. Maybe 2-year-old oak barrels. Still getting that spicy component on the fruit, which is very interesting. Again, high acid wine. Good flavors though. I like this Cab. Just wickedly, wickedly dry finish. I'm going to go B minus on this Cab. I think it's a baby. I think if you let it sit for the next 5 to 8 years, I think it will develop nicely. I think it will, I do think that it could possibly go from a B minus to a B plus, A minus wine in about 5 years. It needs to develop. It has good balance, it has good acid, good fruit, good tannins, everything's there. All the pieces are in place. I'm just not exactly sure where it's going to go. I'm not positively, absolutely telling you it's going to be a better wine in 5 years, but I believe it is because I know the winemaker and the winemaker's wines definitely develop over a period of time. So that being said, I'm going to go B minus right now, possibly an A minus wine in 5+ years. There you go. A little San Juan Vineyard showing a little island love. Thanks for watching during this Washington Wine Month. I hope you didn't get too much Washington wine. I don't think you could. How could you? They're great wines, as many wines all over the world are. Thanks for watching. And remember, wine is not a mystery. It is just fermented grape juice. Drink it. Enjoy it. Always be willing to expand your palate horizons, but never ever let anybody tell you what you should or shouldn't like. And if you do that, we can take the snob out of wine.